Time is often the enemy. It's the one thing that we just can never get back. So if you could pay for more time, would you? There's a concept rising to prominence called revenge bedtime procrastination. Simply put, it's when you go to sleep later than you should. And you've likely been there before and felt the intense dread as you set your alarm. Your alarm is set for 2 hours and 17 minutes from now. You know that you're the one to blame for this situation, but you did it anyway, and it's probably not the first time. What you're trying to do is buy some more time. Or more accurately, you're borrowing time from your own future, and with heavy interest. To quote Matthew Walker, a leading sleep scientist, "The shorter you sleep, the shorter your lifespan."
Short sleep predicts all-cause mortality.
The point is, we all buy time in some form, and we sell it too. The very concept of a job is often described as selling your time to your employer. Time has always been the only irreplaceable thing we have, so our ancient ancestors invented things like currency to make their time and the output of it tradable. Fast forward to today, and from DoorDash to Uber to Amazon Prime, we go to work to trade our time for money. Then we get home, and we trade some of that money back into time. The spectre of the next day looms, the clock ticks, and we all wish we had just a little bit more time. There used to be a sanctuary from this feeling, and that was video games. Video games were a reprieve. There was an unspoken pact between game developer and player. The virtual worlds built were an escape. Azeroth never cared that you had instant ramen again tonight. For a modest fee, you could log in and be just as rich or poor in gold, loot, and skill as anyone else. There were a handful of MMOs around, and about 20 years of RPGs before them, but WoW just hit differently. Azeroth had so many ways for you to spend time and get rewarded for it, mirroring the real world, but on a more enjoyable scale. Amid all the exploration and adventure, you could even build virtual skills and do virtual work. Like, spend a few days of your time working on your herbalism or your alchemy, and then sell the results to somebody for some gold. It was a genuine virtual world, with its own economy isolated from reality. Every player left just as much of their lives at the login screen as they could, and that included their wallet. As long as the barrier between the real and the virtual held up, the World of Warcraft would stay the place to do some satisfying virtual work. But it just could not last. There was one crucial flaw.
Time is money, friend!
And the more you grow, the more you'll be able to earn more of both. If you can combine skills that are not often found together, you'll be superpowered. Skillshare, today's sponsor, is your gateway to this. And the first 1,000 to click my link are going to get a month of Skillshare Premium for free. Now recently we've talked about things like game development skills in the Unity engine. But I want to talk about general productivity. It's a complete superpower. It is a score multiplier over all that you do. Ali Abdal is one of the best examples because he, a fellow World of Warcraft player and self-confessed waste man, has managed to grow a wildly successful business here on YouTube and off-platform as well. He did so using skills and lessons that he will teach you on Skillshare. Whether you are like me and wanting to do a bit better at work, or perhaps you're a student who wants to nail their exams, Ali has you covered. Especially his Productivity Masterclass. It's one of the all-time greats, straight up. So get access today. The first 1,000 to click my link will get a month of Skillshare Premium for free. Hell, he'll even teach you jazz piano as well. There's a problem with this concept of a virtual world. Gold has no direct real-world equivalent, but time does. When you sit down to play, you are turning your real time into virtual time in-game to get virtual progress. In World of Warcraft, everything that might be called progress is bought with time. Farming gold takes time. Getting a dungeon group together takes a lot of time. Raids, even more. At the endgame, time is the only solid barrier to progress thanks to those weekly lockouts. Yes, there are elements of skill, but lots of in-game walls can be climbed if you just had enough time. Even all the way back in vanilla, there were ways to trade gold for more time. Flight paths, mounts, and the incredible player economy filling the auction house with more powerful gear and consumables to make your leveling and playing just a bit faster, to feel more powerful. At least up until the endgame, with of course BOP gear keeping things sort of fair. For the most part, if you wanted the best, you had to earn it yourself. Fast forward to today, and in both Classic and Modern WoW, boosting of all kinds has become an extremely prevalent phenomenon. Judgment of the practice and its effects aside, buying boosts is easily the most time-efficient way to play the game. You effectively trade gold for a VIP pass to dungeons and raids. You get to join a skilled and geared group, and do whatever you want, with guaranteed frictionless gameplay, a fast clear, lots of XP, whatever gear drops, it can all be yours. Luck, skill, and time no longer matter. What matters is the size of your pouch of gold. And boosting isn't the only prevalent way to spend gold for efficiency. With Classic's return, GDKP runs became a common fixture, more common than they ever were in the past, replacing, in some cases, the majority of existing pugs. And the idea is simple. Players bid against each other with gold for loot drops in a raid. The highest bidder gets the item, and their gold goes into a pot that is then split between everyone else at the end. This is generally a group split between two groups. Number one, boosters, who are there to help clear while selling their weekly lockout and boosting service, and then of course the buyers, who are there with the intent to slam down some big money, many thousands of gold, on the items that drop. And depending on who you ask, this is either a plague on Classic that has made it pay to play, reducing gearing and raiding to an economic war, or it's a fantastic way to organize raids that actually benefits everyone involved. Like with boosting, time is traded for gold and vice versa. Not directly, but the buyer is paying for a fast raid clear and for a better chance at items that otherwise could take weeks of normal progress with a guild to obtain. Rather than luck of the dice or invest the time, now the size of your coin purse is the measure of success. Both of these methods are actually sanctioned by Blizzard, and they are the continuation of a trend, gold being used to save time. Except it's now happening in parts of the game that were not originally intended. A cynical viewpoint is that we've moved away from using gold to buy convenience in natural ways like ordering delivery food in real life, to doing something more akin to buying a trophy instead of winning one, devaluing the effort required. An advocate for boosting and GDKP would argue that this is just economics at play. Gold has value, time has value, and items have value. So, a trade between the three is obvious. It's just a natural evolution of how the virtual world's economy has evolved. And if Blizzard are okay with it, it must be fine, right? Well, sort of. Trading gold for time is a testament how valuable these virtual economies are, and while we all play by the rules, it's a fun little microcosm, but still a game. And this is where the crucial flaw comes in, and the unspoken rule that virtual worlds were an escape, a great equalizer, is completely shattered. Gold has value in Azeroth, money has value in the real world, and time has value in both Azeroth and the real world. So trading money, a function of our limited time, for gold, also a function of time, was inevitable.
The secondary market exists. As long as these games are developing economies with robust currencies that they're not selling themselves,
you're going to take
exist.
advantage of it to monetize it however you can.
If I don't, somebody else will.
Those were the words of Jared Sagoda, the self-proclaimed king of Chinese gold farmers. He claims to have been a key figure in connecting Chinese gold suppliers to the rest of the world's sellers, dropping the price of gold substantially by relying on cheap foreign labor, much like with chocolate, coffee, or call centers. He, of course, was making a lot of money for his trouble, And for those exploits, Jared eventually ended up on the Forbes China 30 Under 30, founding the games company that's responsible for League of Angels, and is now the CEO of a blockchain gaming firm. By the time Wrath of the Lich King was wrapping up, Jared estimated that MMO, real money transactions, was a multi-million-dollar industry, and that 90% of it was World of Warcraft. Blizzard were not exactly happy with this, because it risked their players' accounts, made their game unfair, and ultimately went against that unspoken rule. Real money shouldn't be infecting this virtual world, and it was against their terms of service, so they went on a long and intense crusade to protect it, starting by taking out the suppliers. Unfortunately for Blizzard, though, the demand for gold was so strong that the sellers always found a way back in, and it was hurting the game. It is actually estimated that only 30% of gold is farmed legitimately, while 50% is from botting and 20% is from the seedy side. Account cleaning via phishing and hacking. Fresh accounts bought with stolen credit cards, you name it. So eventually, Blizzard needed another way, and they learned an old adage: if you can't beat him, join him. Like EVE, Guild Wars 2, and EverQuest 2 had done before them. Enter 2015's WoW token. It took the multi-million-dollar RMT market and brought most of it in-house, offering a legitimate and risk-free way to trade money for gold, or for those with excess gold, to trade gold for a close equivalent to money. Player A gives $20 to Blizzard, Player B gives Player A a few $100,000 gold, and Blizzard gives Player B $14.99 to spend at the company store. That's $5.01 of raw profit on every transaction. And the best part, none of that money ever leaves Blizzard's vault. But more importantly, it does mean the time is money paradigm was set in stone. Now, for players in developed countries, going to work is in fact the most efficient way to farm gold, and according to Blizzard, that extends to your progress too, via allowed activities like boosting and everything else that requires gold. This isn't the case officially in Classic, both RMT, we all know what happens. The WoW token wasn't the first time they monetized their own game's time-gobbling design. About a year before the token, they introduced paid level boosts. Instead of players spending time with boring, repetitive gameplay, they could just pay to reach max level, and pay they did. Power leveling was supposedly taking up 1/3 of the total RMT market, so this was Blizzard's anti-RMT prototype. And despite some pushback, it was ultimately a service players wanted. So it stayed. In times gone by, people would talk about somebody being an eBay character, an eBay player. The idea being that they just purchased an account on eBay and basically sucked at the game. Now that is something that happens on the company's store. Blizzard, in a way, created the problem, or alternatively you could say, balanced the game, but they noticed that players were buying other solutions, so they just sold one themselves. But it didn't start there. The Diablo 3 real money auction house from 2012 was their first experiment, and it failed. They made a pretty amateur mistake. Sellers could cash out via PayPal with a 15% fee. Cue a market obliterated by bots farming golden items and a whole segment of players who didn't even bother with the game. They just traded back and forth, or farmed items and gold with bots to earn some real money. The impact this had in the game was not lost on Blizzard either. This is what Jay Wilson, the director of Diablo 3, told a room full of developers at GDC.
What I want is to kill this guy and have cool stuff drop and get items. But this is actually what happened. So if anyone can't see, it says money, best superpower ever, which I totally agree with because Iron Man's cool. But it's not good for a game like Diablo. It doesn't feel good to get items from money. You want to get items from killing monsters.
That real money auction house was unceremoniously closed with Reaper of Souls' release, and a lot has changed since then. Over 8 years later, though, Jay Wilson's warning has, for the most part, fallen on deaf ears. In modern World of Warcraft, Blizzard offer the WoW token, meaning the official stance is time is money, and time is gold, so money is gold. But they don't offer it in Classic, so what's the difference? It goes back to that unspoken rule. When World of Warcraft was first created, when virtual worlds were an escape, games were still niche and a lot less profitable as a result. The world felt a lot slower too, which helped us sit down and enjoy the slow-paced reward cycle of farming something out. Over the years since then, the world underwent massive change, and the games industry with it. What used to be publishers racing to release the best game for a market became giant corporations hell-bent on capturing millions of hours of engagement from global audiences. Then, before anyone realized it, games weren't just competing with games anymore. No, we had truly entered the attention economy. We don't have enough time to experience everything there is, so time is in higher demand than ever. Like Netflix said when they were at their height, their toughest competitor was sleep. Social media, YouTube, Activision Blizzard, gambling sites, they all have the same goal: your attention, your time. And they are in an arms race to get it. Now, psychologists and neuroscientists like those at Dopamine Labs are being hired to make everything more addictive, and executives of major companies like Chamath Palihapitiya, ex-VP of user growth at Facebook, are publicly confessing their guilt over the chain reaction they started. This hyperspeed version of reality that we now live in has inflated the value of time, so we are less likely to sit down for a few hours and enjoy a slow adventure when we need to progress and experience faster. Even modern WoW has been designed to reward you harder and faster than ever before. World quests are bite-sized quests made for rapid engagement, and Mythic Plus dungeons are an infinite slot machine lever to pull. Getting a mount is no longer a slow burn affair with a reputation and a meaningful quest narrative context. Most of them now are random rewards for pulling some form of lever. A rare kill, a paragon box, it's all the same. The result is just number go up. The developers are looking at statistics, analyzed by the same sorts of people who analyze metrics for Facebook, for Twitter, for Netflix, and for the entire field of user engagement that optimizes for the same thing. It's not your satisfaction, not how much fun you have, not how happy you are. Those are very hard to put into numbers. Don't think about how you feel, analyze what you do. They optimize for time, daily active users, monthly active users, session length. Your worth reduced to a number: time. It's the only irreplaceable resource you have, and they measure every second of it. And now that those who drive the economy have learnt how to hold your time hostage, they are turning that time into money.
Time, money, you get the drift.
Lost Ark might be the best example of the changing tide. In 2022, a PC MMO releases with a clear design that tells the player to their face they can spend money to spend less time playing, and it's met as a game with resounding praise. After players breeze through the story content, the item level wall shows up and tells players to log in and complete dailies and weeklies on as many alts as possible to get materials to gamble in the honing system to advance. Except, those materials, they can be sold on the player auction house, using a currency that you can buy with real money. And a few steps to disguise it. To Smilegate, your money is just as good as your time, and the more that other players spend their time, the more you feel the value of spending your money. Blizzard proved themselves guilty of the exact same thing with Diablo Immortal. It uses almost every trick in the dark grimoire of mobile gaming to funnel users into paying real money to save real-world time, progress faster, get stronger, all with effectively no limit unless you're a multi-millionaire. Do you spend your time by completing the chores, or your money by skipping? But the problem that gave birth to Diablo Immortal is just an attitude, that time and money are interchangeable when playing games. And that attitude has long infected WoW. Classic was supposed to be a throwback to the good old days, back when there felt like there was more time, and for many it was. But it has not been immune to today's time is money gaming problem. Cue rampant boosting and GDKP, all fueled by RMT. It is insane in Classic TBC. Classic has also been fighting off plagues of bots, farming gold, inflating the economy, and the result is more RMT. The players with the biggest bank accounts now have the biggest pouches of gold. And that means they can level the fastest, they can bid in the most gear, they can progress. And the more people are doing that, the fewer groups there are doing it the old-fashioned way. The more people get into the boosting economy in Modern, the less people are just chilling, trying to form a good old-fashioned puck. In Modern WoW, boosting is rampant because by design players feel the constant pressure of time, the consistent ticking of the daily and weekly clock, the rat race for gear, and they know they can swipe to make all the anxiety go away. In a world where Blizzard have done a poor job of teaching people how to play their game, yet have put high-level play at the core of progression, content can be frustrating, so why not buy that VIP pass? Blizzard know this too. That's why the WoW token exists. It exists because time is money. And it's going to get worse. This is where the script has actually ended. And it's where I'm going to leave you with a warning for the future of gaming, one that we should all be rather afraid of. Play to earn is one of the latest buzzwords. It's mostly there in and around crypto gaming. But there is an example of this that happened entirely within the Battle.net ecosystem. A player with an extreme amount of World of Warcraft gold was able to take their WoW gold, turn it into Battle.net balance, and then buy a hell of a lot of power in Diablo Immortal. This is worrying. This is what they want with Play to Earn. They want to turn it all into a time is money economy. And if that catches on, virtual worlds will never be the same again. They will never be the retreat that we all adored in times gone by. By now you've probably worked out that today's video was a little bit different from what we normally do. To be honest, I'd really like to continue making videos like this. We have a few things planned on the very earliest days of Blizzard Entertainment, back when they weren't called Blizzard. Things that led to this franchise's existence. There's just so many stories that we want to tell that don't really work in the way that we normally do videos. They're not a Warcraft news video, they're not a lore video. So I appreciate you watching this far in something that's a bit new. If you've got any feedback, or perhaps any stories that you think you'd like us to look into kind of deeply on the game's long history, well, do let me know. I'd love to see what we can do. And of course, if you want to support the sponsor that very much did make today's video possible and makes risks and the like possible, of course, that is Skillshare. I thank them for their support. You can check out Ali's incredible stuff in those links down below. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.